why and how Belton became such a tennis town, why it's so important to the town.
Well, you can trace tennis in Belton back well over 100 years. There was an article in the Anderson Intelligencer, I think from around 1890. It talked about the stores closing at 5 o'clock and the clerks going and playing tennis. And the first court was right here where the depot is. And then later our courts got moved over to what they call the town, I forgot the name they used for it. It's now the Belton Tennis Center. And there was one court there, and then 2 courts, and then 3, and now there's 5. But you can trace it back to, I think, really to the time between the 2 world wars when people weren't as mobile. It wasn't so easy to get in the car and drive to Atlanta or drive to Greenville, for that matter, or even Anderson. And so I think that was just kind of what took on here at Belton, is the young people like to play tennis, and it kind of built on itself that the players taught the younger kids how to play. And so that seems to be the way it happened, and then of course it continued on after the Second World War, and we started the group, my parents' generation started the tournament that became the Palmetto Championships, which has been played here for many, many years, and that just helps to build on it. And then of course we added the South Carolina Tennis Hall of Fame in 1984, and the South Carolina Tennis Hall of Fame was on the south end of the depot.
Remind people how you got involved. You started talking about your parents. Remind people how you got involved in this whole tennis thing.
Well, I got involved. Of course, if you grew up in Belton, in my generation, you played tennis, and I played, but I wasn't among the greatest. I always tell the story. When I was 12 years old, I was ranked number 8 in the state in the 12 and unders, and I thought that was pretty good. Only problem was the 7 that were above me were all for Belton. So I figured I better take up some other sports if I was going to succeed in team sports. But I grew up playing tennis, and then after I graduated from college and got married, my wife and we used to host the girls in homes here in Belton. They would come, and so we had a couple of girls from Mount Pleasant who stayed with us, and that gave us somebody to go watch and somebody to cheer for. And then that kind of reacquainted me with the Palmetto Championships. By the way, I played in the very first Palmetto in 1957. Lost first round, so that shows you my skill level. But at any rate, we kept those girls, and that got me interested in the tournament. And then my good friend Jim Russell was also getting involved in running the event, and I saw what a great event it was, but it wasn't getting a lot of publicity. So my company, Maynard's, was doing a lot of advertising. I told Jim I'd come on board, and I'd help him with publicity and getting us on TV and getting us more in the newspapers, and we were successful doing that. And then one thing leads to another, and I just get more involved here in Belton and more involved with the Palmetto, and then I get more involved with the state and volunteering there and on into the section, which is the 9 southern states and even the national. So it's been a great experience. A lot of my greatest friends, I have a lot of great friends here in Belton, but I have a lot of great friends too throughout the southeast and the country because of tennis.
And how important have the Palmetto Championships been for the town and for Belton?
Well, I think if you go pretty much anywhere in South Carolina and you say you're from Belton, they'll say, oh yeah, that's that tennis town. And so many people played in the Palmetto. We've had over the years probably between 350 and 400 kids come and play. And so if you multiply that out times many, many years, there's been a lot of people who played tennis here in Belton, from all over the state. And so I think it puts us on the map. It gives us some bragging rights. Things like the South Carolina Tennis Hall of Fame being here, that just, I think, adds to the reputation that Belton is a big tennis town. And then we're really fortunate here. We have some great nonprofits, the museum here being one, and the Center for the Arts, and American Legion, and so many others. But we're also fortunate to have the Belton Tennis Association, which is a nonprofit that operates the Belton Tennis Center, and we're unique in the fact that it's a privately funded public facility. So anybody can come play tennis up there anytime they want to, day or night, and there's no charge. Only time you can't play is on Sunday morning when church is going.
And it's how important is it to you that they're having this long series of events to honor it and remind everybody of it?
Well, it's special to know that the museum wants to recognize tennis and the history of tennis in Belton. Of course, this exhibit is not the history of tennis in Belton, but that's a big part of it. The history of tennis in South Carolina, it's just the history of tennis. And I think this just adds to our reputation as a tennis community and a tennis town, and and hopefully a community that will continue to support, and we have volunteers that are willing to support and help with the Belton Tennis Association and the Palmetto Championships and the other tournaments that we do. I mentioned the Palmetto, but there's a number of other events that we do as well.
Yeah, we're opening a new exhibit today called Raise a Racquet, The History of Tennis. We're looking at the rich history of tennis here in Belton, everything from looking at some of the players from Belton to some of the big players around the country. Behind me is a gorgeous portrait of Althea Gibson, who was the first African-American woman to play in the U.S. Open, her amazing career. So we've got something for everyone. Today we're going to have people here from the USTA Southern. We've got tennis courts set up outside. People can try their hand at playing tennis, whether it's your first time ever holding a racket or you've been around the courts a long time. We'd love to see you come out.
And Rex Maynard and his family have been a huge part of tennis. Talk about why Rex and the Maynard family have been so important to this community.
Yeah, Rex Maynard is huge in tennis, not just here in Belton, but he's part of the South Carolina tennis, as well as nationally even. He's the one that is responsible for the collection of everything we have in the South Carolina Tennis Hall of Fame, and is a big supporter of the museum as well. So we were thrilled to death that he was willing to work with us to put together this amazing exhibit.
And I still find people that don't realize that the South Carolina, the State Tennis Hall of Fame's in Belton. Tell people a little bit more about the State Tennis Hall of Fame.
Yeah, the South Carolina Tennis Hall of Fame is right here in the depot, part of the museum. It houses portraits of everyone that's inducted. They induct 2 people every single year that have to have lived in South Carolina at some point and made a significant contribution to the sport of tennis. They have their portrait painted. They add something to the collection, so you can see all of the people who have made tennis here in South Carolina and some of their memorabilia, awards. We've got a racket that was used at Wimbledon, to national, international trophies.
And when can people visit the Tennis Hall of Fame?
The South Carolina Tennis Hall of Fame is open at the same time as the rest of the museum. So Wednesday through Friday, 9 to 2, Saturday, 10 to noon.
And the tennis exhibit will run through when?
The tennis exhibit will be open through May 27th, which is the weekend of the Palmetto Championship. So you can come out, cheer on your favorite players playing at the championship, and come over and see the exhibit one last time.
So you grew up playing here?
I grew up playing here. My dad, had played, born and bred here, and then married my mom overseas, and they came. But anyway, yes. So I was raised in Belton. There were 3 clay courts in town, and I'm talking. This is I was born in '49, so this was the mid to late '50s that I started, picking up the racket and everything, and loved it. I mean, just fell in love with it, and and the rest was history. Obviously, I ended up becoming a coach. Coached for about 30-something years up in North Carolina, and then retired back down here. And so, Rex knocked on my door and said, "Hey, can you join us on the volunteer?" And I said, "Absolutely."
So this was a real tennis town where you were growing up.
Oh, it was fantastic. Yeah, I mean, I was the youngest at that moment. I remember Gene Evans, who, pictures in there, Malloy Evans, was it James Ledbetter, William Poore. They were a little bit older than myself, but then there was Claudia Garrett ahead of me, Margaret Cleese-Scales. It was just a fabulous group of kids. I mean, the parents would just drop all the kids up there at the clay courts, and there were only 3 at that time, and play for hours, and then, parents would come back and pick us up. And so, just through that moment right there. And the other thing that happened, so we all meet up there, play tennis, and then we crossed the railroad tracks because Collegiate Scales Soda Shop was right there. And so it was all for the ice cream. So yeah, but a lot of wonderful memories I had. Yeah.
And now the Palmetto Championships are here.
You know, it's amazing to me, the Palmetto Championships, because I mean that was my first tournament as a child. You know, was I think mid-50s is when it originated, sort of thing. So that was my first tournament, and then, you know, from afar I watched it continue to grow. I mean, obviously I played and then, you know, went away, and then, you know, I watched it grow. You know, my mom would keep me in touch with things happening and stuff like that. And then being back here, the success that they continued to have, and that, you know, I mean, there are a lot of people, I mean, you know, was it Rex, Jim Russell? I mean, they just took that and they ran with it, and, you know, they did a fabulous job, and, you know, and then Rex continued, obviously, after, you know, Jim passed. But fabulous job. I mean, it's the heart and soul of Belton in terms of, for me, it's the tennis, yeah. I mean, I grew and loved tennis, yeah. So, yeah.
Would you ever thought growing up here that one day the South Carolina Tennis Hall of Fame would be in Belton?
No, didn't. Didn't think that. But then, you know, it made sense to me. I mean, as an adult, obviously, because of the history and so many people had played and gone on to whether it's college or, you know, after school, whatever, you know, into their adulthood, and even now, William Poore, who's about 3 or 4 years ahead of me. He continues to play, and, you know, we'll be on the phone maybe once every 6 months, and he'll catch me up. He's up in Charlotte at the Old Providence Club, and so much history. And so when I look back, yes, I mean, and I think it was of the efforts of, you know, of Rex and Jim that the Hall of Fame came here to Belton. But it's history. I mean, it was so many people, so many generations from my parents, their parents' generation that would drop us at the courts, and then my generation, and then subsequent generations now. I mean, I look at, you know, Rex's, you know, girls that played collegiate tennis. Then now his grandchildren are playing, in the clinics with Jonathan and things like that. So it's just generation after generation after generation, and so it's the heart and soul.
Well, tennis has been played here in Belton since 1892. And Belton was founded by a lot of Charlestonians who brought their love of the game with them to Belton. And the beauty of Belton tennis, and not just that, across the nation, is that if you wanted to play, anybody can play on the several public courts that we have free of charge. You don't have to belong to a country club to enjoy tennis. And that makes Belton unique in itself. But also, because tennis has been such a passion of our people since, 130 years or more, that makes us the likely place for both the Junior Tennis Tournament that's held every year and the South Carolina Tennis Hall of Fame. Now, in the South Carolina Tennis Hall of Fame, we have tons of portraits of inductees, in addition to memorabilia that they have provided. But in this exhibit, what we tried to do is branch out beyond the walls of Belton to go to Wimbledon, Australian Open, the U.S. Open. So, of course, one of the things we have today is for you to enjoy strawberries and cream. One of the treats that is given at Wimbledon are sold at Wimbledon. And we have all types of photographs and pictures of people who have gone beyond the walls of Belton to excel in tennis across the nation and across the world. And so we invite you to come see their artifacts, their memorabilia, and to come learn a little bit about tennis, because there's not only today from 3 to 5, but we also have a free tennis clinic that will be held on April the 2nd. Anybody can come to the tennis courts from 3 to 4:30 and learn how to play tennis. Also, there are children's clinics on Tuesdays and Thursdays. If you are a BAMA member, you get a 10% discount off the cost of that. And then, of course, the ending of the exhibit culminates with the Palmetto Junior Tennis Tournament.